It's a sketchbook tour, and there's two of them. Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Rebecca of ArtistRebeccaLS. Today, as you saw in the intro, we have a sketchbook tour, and there are two of them. There's this one, which I made from scratch myself, and I don't know if I've shown it already. And then we've got the Arteza from the pack of 3. Let's get into it. Okay, so this first one is completely handmade, as you can tell. I even had a go at sewing. I don't know if you can even see that. It was so difficult stitching. You can just, if we just look here, I use white thread. You can just about see here. And I did paper with a needle because I wasn't going to get the needle through the cardboard. It was just too difficult. So I did a few sheets of paper, not as many as I would have needed. And then I probably glued this to the seam kind of here. And then because there was a hole in this old cardboard, I just kind of did 2 bits of cardboard on top, which made like a doorknob. So it's a bit like a door is the cover. And then I covered it in black ink. And then I drew using my Edding gel pen. Well, they're not paint pens, but they're gel pens as such. In white, silver and gold. You can see that on my channel. The first page, a lot of it is coffee. This is like a real rough experimental sketchbook for experimenting. So a lot of it I've covered in coffee and used gel pens and water-soluble pens. It's printer paper that I use. So real cheap stuff. And just experimenting, throwing coffee about everywhere. And the pages have stayed in and they do lay flat, as you can see. It's all, so it did work out using the sewing technique, but I'm not going to be doing it again. It was way too time consuming and really difficult for my hands, but at least I show that I could achieve one. So lots of experimenting. I did some kind of kids paint, which is like tempera, which dries with like a texture. And so then I can put pencil over the top, and the pencil works really well on that textured smooth surface. A bit like a gouache, I imagine. So then I did some found objects and some circles that I just stamped about and then drew around them and did dots. And then this was a complete mix of the kids' tempera paint, which is the blue, and then watercolor pens, and obviously it's always coffee in here. And then these were what I call felt tips, but they're water-soluble kids' colouring pens. And then I did my fingerprints of coffee again, and decided to create faces from some of them. And then I used brown felt tip pen after doing coffee kind of arches and filled them in with the brown pen. This is like lovely. I love that pink, and it's the kids paint again. And then I added some of the yellow. I think it was a pearlescent one that I spread about, and some shiny silver pen. And then some of the purple kids paint as a layer, a base, and then use Crayola pencils, and then a Edding gel pen in white and gold. And it stands out quite well on this. And then that's bright for the eyes, isn't it? It's the yellow kids paint again as a base, and then I did some pencil Crayola on top. And again, we had a bit of a rip here, so it's thinned a bit because things stuck together. As I say, this is like a real rough handmade sketchbook. But I felt confident in using it because, like, really letting loose with it, because I hadn't spent any money on it, and I was thinking I can just really almost destroy it and not feel guilty about it, and not feel that I'm wasting good supplies and things like that, because I really do feel sometimes I'm not good enough to use the good quality art supplies. I don't always feel like that, just quite often. And so this really frees you up to use anything that you like. So then I did some grey and black, and I thought that came out really quite nice. Just using, as I say, water-soluble pens or gel pens on top of it. Then I had a go at just doing scribbles and just some buildings. And then I did a really weird loose portrait. And then this, I think, is cocoa powder. So that was fun, to mix it with water and smell, and it's a lovely sensory thing. And then there were kids' pearlescent paints that I put in there. And then again over here, they're pearlescent. So I wanted to just try and draw biro on top of it. And then we've got coffee, just plain. And then the kids paint again and scribbling as hard as I could, some pencil. And then just some splatters. Lots of watercolour. This is definitely cocoa. Absolutely cocoa, yeah. Because it doesn't mix as well as coffee, but that's all experiment. I like this because I love the colour. But I also like that I probably, from the looks of it, I created scratch marks in this. Getting really close with the camera. You can see lots of texture, and I think while it was still wet, I then shut the book so that it all went over here for a bit. So that's another fun technique. And I've actually got some blank pages left, but I kind of have moved on from it. But if I feel the urge to experiment again, I know I've always got it ready. Now for the second sketchbook. So I used my Bic Biro Fun set, which is 4 colours in Biro. You have a candy blue, a candy pink, a candy purple, and a candy green. Which the green is all right, but it is difficult to see it properly. So we have a robin. And so I kind of went back and forth because I went through my art block thing, a burnout actually. It was not block, it was a burnout. I just, I have a video on that, which if I remember, I'll link at the end. So I was going back and forth with this sketchbook and have now obviously finished it off. Now I'm not suffering from burnout. So this was February. And then we go to also, you'll see the difference. So this and this are after burnout. This is before burnout. And so is all the rest of it. I'm doing some water. Did that on camera, I think. And I like how this came out, the owls. Kind of weird. And this I abandoned because it didn't work. I like that. But again, it's after burnout. This, trying to go for ideas. That is after burnout. This is before. And this is after burnout. And this is before. After burnout. And before. And again, after burnout. And before. This is all before burnout. And again, before burnout. This is after burnout. And though I didn't get it exactly as the person I was trying to do, I still like how it came out. And this was before the burnout. And this was before, and this was before. This was after. That was before. That's blank. And this was before. And all before. before. I do like the patterns. And that was before, but I still quite like how it came out. I think I actually added this afterwards, the background. And that's before. Oh, I was writing down a quote from the Christmas Carol, the Muppet Christmas Carol. I love The Ghost of Christmas Past. And that's her quote. These are the shadows of things that have been, that they are what they are. Do not blame me. I just love that quote. And this was all before the burnout. Still like all the colours and stuff. I'm quite into abstract. I always I stopped doing abstract actually because so many people around me were like, what is it? Like, what's the point of abstract? If you don't know, if I look at it and don't know what it is, what's the point? And you're surrounded by negative comments constantly. So you kind of lose interest in doing it. But I'm slowly coming back to it. You know, you have to decide that you enjoy doing it and you have to ignore what everybody else says. So then this was before burnout. But I still like how it came out. Oh no, it was after, was it? Let me see. What's the date? I'm going to say. Yes, it was after. I thought it was looking better. Definitely after burnout. I remember doing it recently, actually. And, well, basically, it's a scene from our garden. So you've got a plastic chair by a tree here. And lots of foliage, lots of grass. And this doesn't belong to us, but there's like a hedge at the back here, which is ours. And beyond that are neighbours, and their car is just the shape here at the back. So then, oops, shaky. This was, I think, before the burnout, but I didn't date it. And then this is after burnout, surprisingly. Obviously, I was just getting back into it. This was all before. I quite like how these came out, even, well, actually this one is after the burnout. I do like how it came out. I'm not good at doing boats, but I was using those double, the jewel markers that I showed you from last year. And this again is from after the burnout. And after the burnout, I remember doing that. Watching Jess Karp's channel. This again was after burnout. And so with this, I think majority now are all after burnout. And I like doing this kind of coffee cake designs. That didn't come out so great. I was doing Dean Cain, the actor from the 90s Lois and Clark Superman Adventures. I much prefer that one. It's more innocent, you know, it's nice. And then these came out really quite nice. I quite like how it came out. I'm still perfecting. But it's all after the burnout. That was fun to get that. I get most of my references from Pinterest and Pixabay, Unsplash, all those kinds of places. And then testing out, it's not a true Lamy pen. It's a knockoff from AliExpress, but I was still experimenting. And then that came out quite nice, just experimenting. I really like this. This was the rainbow pencil that I showed you guys on my channel, the Lyra Furby, and it came out really fun doing this. And again, it's the same pencil, and doing some patterns, and I quite like how my portraits are coming out now. They're getting a bit more interest. And then just doing some more cake things. and then coffee and some fruit slices. This kind of went wrong. I'd seen an image somewhere and was trying to capture it. And then we end with that, a coffee wooden frame with just a black and white country scene landscape. And that's the end of that, guys. So I hope you've enjoyed looking through my sketchbooks. More will be on the way, and I wish you all creative wishes. Have a good day, guys. Bye.